السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله وكفى ثم الصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى وبعد. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. After giving thanks and praises to Allah the Almighty, extend the peace and salutation to the soul of the messengers Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family members, his companions, whoever followed their footsteps to the day of judgment and to proceed. Inshallah, today we'll continue our class. I'm reading from the book of our noble scholar, Ashab al-Mumta al-Azad al-Mustaqna. I'll be reading from the book of marriage. Last week, we mentioned some of the qualities that one should look for when getting married. We mentioned few about the woman, but the same thing is applied for the men. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا جَاءَكُمْ مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَخُلُقَهُ فَزَوَّجُوهُ. The Prophet said, women are married for four, right? For four reasons. And then he commanded us to choose the one who is religious. And likewise, with the men, the Prophet said, if someone comes to you, whom you are pleased with their religion and their character, then marry them off. So here the Prophet mentioned religion and character, which means there are two, there are differences between religious and good character. So if these things are mentioned together in one sentence, how do we differentiate between what is religious and what is considered someone with good character?
Religion, somebody can pray, you can see them pray.
Exactly. Yep.
Or maybe the character, the way they deal with somebody.
Beautiful. So here, when we say religious, he is somebody who fulfilled the right of Allah. And fulfilling the right of Allah means you believe in Him, you establish the 5 daily prayers, you fast in Ramadan to the end. So if you see somebody who frequents the masjid, then you know that he has good religion. Someone who followed the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, meaning he's not an innovator, then you know that he's upon good religion, because you don't want to marry your daughter off to someone who is an innovator. Because we mentioned before, innovation is worse than sin. Innovation is a sin, but the sin of innovation is worse than the regular sin, because the innovator thinks that he's doing the right thing, and therefore he will never repent. But the sinner, he knows that what he's doing is wrong. So you want to marry your daughter to someone who established the 5 daily prayers, who followed the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the best of his ability, and also someone whose relationship with the people is good, meaning he has good character. He is kind, he is polite, he is forgiving, he is patient. These are the type of qualities you look for when marrying your daughters off to someone. And also someone who is financially able to take care of a wife. Because somebody may be able, to take care of a wife, but he's not religious. And somebody may be religious, may have good character, but he will not be able to take care of a woman. This is something that is necessary. So Allah the Almighty has commended the men who are not able to get married, meaning they are not able to provide a woman with the roof on her head, the necessary things in life. If they're not able to, then Allah the Almighty commanded them to be patient until He the Almighty sustain them from His family. We're going to move on today to talk about about looking or viewing. Because before you get married to a woman, the Prophet has recommended that you should look at her. How do we look, and what do we look at when getting married? The author said, وَلَهُ نَظَرْ مَا يَظْهَرُ غَالِبًا مِرَارًا بِلَا خَلْوَةٍ. Meaning, if somebody wants to get married to a woman, then it is permissible for him to look at her, right? To look at her, but look at the things that are appearing most of the time. So here, let's see what did Ibn Uthaymeen mention here. He said, the author said, وله أن يعود أن ينظر إلى ما يدعو إلى زواجها من وظاهر كلام المؤلف هنا أن النظر للمخطوبة مباح وليس بمطلوب. He said the statement of the scholar here, meaning the author, he said it is permissible, meaning it is not recommended. Is that how we understood what the scholar said? The author said it is permissible for him to look at a woman before marrying her. So here, Ibn Uthaymeen is trying to differentiate between what is permissible and what is recommended. So do we say it is permissible or do we say it is recommended? Because if we say something is permissible, it's okay whether you do it or not. But when we say something is recommended, meaning doing it is better than not doing it. So this is how we differentiate between what is permissible and what is recommended. So here is looking at women before marrying her. Is this something, do we say it is permissible or do we say it is recommended?
It's recommended.
It is both. But we will say it is recommended because if you did not look at her, you are not going to be held accountable for that. You have that option. But the Prophet has urged us to look at them before marrying them. And here, you can see that it is addressing men, but not women. But in reality, when looking, both seem to look at what? Each other. So even though it is addressing men, that doesn't mean that women don't have the choice of looking. They also have the choice, right? But the point here is because men are those who go and ask for marriage. This is the reason why they are being addressed in this manner. But women also have a choice to look and to ask to see who they want to get married to. If it is somebody that they like, so be our name. Because some women will say we don't like someone who is short, right? And I've come across many women like that. Or we don't want somebody who does not have what? Beard, you know? So they also have their choices and their taste. So likewise, and the hikmah behind it is because this will, like the Prophet ﷺ said, this will strengthen the relationship and let the relationship last because it is somebody that you incline to. You don't want to marry to somebody that you don't incline to. So that's the wisdom behind it. So Ibn Uthaymeen said, ولهذا نقول يسن لمن أراد أن يخطب امرأة أن ينظر إلى ما يظهر غالبا. It is from the sunnah for the one who wants to propose to marry a woman to look at what is appearing from her body most of the time. Meaning if she is in the presence of her mahram. So what does women usually show most of the time if she is in the presence of her mahram? Meaning her brother or her uncle. Head, her arms, her head, right? Her face, her feet. You understand? Not more than that. I hope this is clear. So if you are in the presence of your brother, you can show your head. So it is for the man, he has the right to ask to see those things. I hope this is clear. All right. Our noble scholar Ibn Uthaymeen also said, it is okay for him to send somebody, meaning another woman, to go and look at her and come back to him with the information. He has the right to do that. However, it is more preferable for the person himself to see it because the judgment of somebody is not your judgment, right? Somebody may say something, but then, like, he may say somebody and say, oh wow, he's handsome. But then you will look at him and say, no, he is not. Or he will say, oh, she's beautiful. But someone else will look and say, nah, she is not. So beauty lies on the eye of the beholder. So the best thing is for the person himself to look at the woman so that he can make his decision, and for the woman to look at the man so that she can make her decision whether she wants to get married to that individual or not. And also Ibn Taymiyyah said it is also permissible for him to look over and over. One looking may not be what? Sufficient. The reason being, Ibn Taymiyyah said, لأن قد يتغير حال المرأة حسب الطبيعة، لأنه أحيانا يكون الإنسان في حال السرور وما أشبه ذلك له حال، وفي حال الحزن له حال، وفي حال الطبيعة له حال. He says sometimes if a man is in a good mood, he'll look different. If he's in a bad mood, he'll look what? Different. If it's a sad mood, it look different. So you should give yourself time to look at that individual that you want to get married to until you are satisfied. And he's also mentioned that sometimes some women, when they know that you're coming to, have a sit down and look at it, she will dress up and put what? Makeup. And that will hide the actual look. And then afterwards, you will see that she is not the person that you sat with. That doesn't mean that she's not the person, but because of the makeup that she put on. So it is recommended that if a woman wants to have a sit down, she should not put too much makeup that will even take her out of the actual look. I hope this is clear. Because if you live in with your husband in the house, you're going to live with him the real life. So it is better for a woman to to be herself when having a sit down. That doesn't mean that she should not dress up and look well. No, dress up, and for the men also to dress up, but do not go beyond the limit. And also, Ibn Taymiyyah said this sitting is the viewing to see whether he wants you or not. It's not for shahwa. When you dress up like this, you dress up like that for your husband. Put on perfume and all that stuff. You understand? Because this is something that may create shahwa. You understand? So you don't want to dress up in a manner that will arouse someone's desire when it is not yet permissible for you guys to exchange that type of feeling. So the best thing for a woman to do is to be herself when having a sit down. And again, that doesn't mean that she should not dress up. Now Ibn Taymiyyah said, كيف ينظر? How would you look at a woman before you marry her? How is that going to happen? Are you going to meet her somewhere? Or is it going to be in the presence of a mahram? Or do you want to hide somewhere and keep looking where she is passing by? There are two ways. Ibn Taymiyyah said the first is in the presence of a mahram, meaning a legal guardian. The second one is if that did not happen, meaning you're not able to, arrange that with the mahram, then it is okay for you to sit somewhere that she usually passes, just to steal a glance at her and keep looking until you see something because here you're not looking to be looking, you are looking for a purpose. So that is the second way of looking. And same thing, like I said, is applied for the woman if she wants to marry or is interested in marrying a man. Alright, so now we're going to look at the conditions for looking at a woman. Ibn Taymiyyah mentioned that there are 6 conditions. There are 6 conditions altogether. Al-awwal, an yakuna bila khalwa. When you look at a woman, you should not look at her in seclusion, meaning there has to be a legal guardian. This is the first condition. The reason being is what Prophet ﷺ said, لا يخلون امرأة برجل إلا والشيطان ثالثهما. Whenever a woman is in seclusion with a man, their third is the devil. So shaitan is their third. So that's the first condition. The second condition, Ibn Taymiyyah said, أن يكون بلا شهوة. The looking should not be with a desire, meaning with the arousal of a desire. فَإِنَّ النَّظَرَ لِشَهْوَةٍ إِنَّهُ حَرَامٌ. If you look at here for shahwa, then it becomes what? Haram. لأن المقصود بالنظر الاستعلام لا الاستمتاع. Because the goal behind looking here, is to get the information that you need, not to entertain yourself with it. الثالث, the third condition, أن يغلب على ظنه الإجابة. Meaning he has to know, or he has to have more inclination towards marrying her. Meaning if he knows that I am willing to marry her and I'm getting ready to marry her, not just looking to be looking, because there are some men who already know that I'm not going to marry her or I'm not ready to get married, but then who wouldn't have a sit down. This is something that is haram. It's impermissible. And I know many men who do this. Wallahu al-musta'an. The Lord Almighty grant us understanding of the deen. Ameen. And protect us from that. Ameen. So if you know that you are ready to get married and willing to get married, then you arrange the looking, then you can do the thing. But if you know that you are not ready, do not have a sit down. This is the fourth condition. The fifth condition, أن يكون عازما على الخطبة. The fifth condition, like I said, he has to be determined to propose to marry her. He has to be determined to propose to marry her. Because honestly, I have a situation where a man sits with a woman, exchange all the talk, view, and everything. And afterward, he walked out and he was saying to his companions, I just sit to be sitting. I just sit to listen and get information, and that's all. And this is absolutely haram. Absolutely haram. So those men who are doing this, they need to fear Allah and, know that Allah the Almighty is watching. So Ibn Uthaymeen said, أن يكون نظره نتيجة لعزمه على أن يتقدم لهؤلاء بخطبة ابنتهم. So your looking or your viewing should be a determination for you to proceed with the marriage. Meaning, if you see her and you like her, you are going to proceed with the marriage. This is what Ibn Uthaymeen mentioned here. The sixth condition, ويخاطب به المرأة ألا تظهر متبرجة أو متطيبة مكتحلة أو ما أشبه ذلك. The sixth condition with him said, this is for the woman. She should not come out with the barija, meaning exposing what should not be exposed. She should not come out using perfume, meaning perfuming herself and putting makeups and all that. No, she should come out normal, but take good care of herself. Ibn Uthaymeen mentioned here, he said, مبتهل أو ما أشبه ذلك من التجميل لأنه ليس المقصود أن يرغب الإنسان في جماعها حتى يقال إنها تظهر متبرجة فإن هذا تفعله المرأة مع زوجها. He said because coming out like this, meaning dressing up nice, putting perfume and all that, a woman does this for her husband, and he is not your husband yet, so you should not do that for him. But unfortunately, we do the what? Right? We do the opposite. We want to put up all these makeups. Women today, they spend all this money just to please men who don't even care about them. They put all this fake eyelashes and all that stuff, but for their husbands or whatever, right? And it should be the opposite. So we ask Allah Almighty to grant us understanding of this deen. We live in an era that is so different from the previous era. That's why Ibn Uthaymeen said, when we say that you can look at a woman, the things that she usually exposes, which is her face and her hands and, her feet to the end. He said we determined this with the predecessors, not this era. Because our era today, women go outside with something that, some married women would be shy to wear in the presence of their husbands. This is how they walk outside there. So we ask Allah the Almighty to grant us understanding of the deen. Ameen. Ibn Uthaymeen said the reason being is because most of the time people, shaitan, make people inclined to women that are not their wives, meaning women that are not permissible for them. This is how shaitan do. This is the work of the shaitan. He said this is the reason why sometimes you come across a man, إِنَّهُ إِمْرَأَةٌ مِنْ أَجْمَلِ النِّسَاءِ. He has a wife who is from the most beautiful woman. ثُمَّ يَنْظُرُ إِلَى امْرَأَةٍ قَبِيحَ شَوْهَا. But he will leave this beautiful woman and go to a woman who is what? Ugly. More ugly than his wife. لأن الشيطان يبهيها بعينه حيث إنها لا تحل له. Because the devil is the one who makes her seem beautiful in his eyes, even though she is not permissible for him. But that's what the devil wants. That's another reason why, we should be careful when having to sit down. We should not dress in that manner because it may lead to arousing shahwa, which is impermissible shahwa. May Allah Almighty grant us understanding of the deen. Amen. Our noble scholar Ibn Uthaymeen also mentioned here, he said, وَيَحْرُمُ التَّصْرِيحُ بِخِطْبَةِ الْمُعْتَدَّةِ لِلْوَفَاةٍ وَالْمُبَانَةِ. Meaning it is impermissible. Here we're talking about proposing for marriage, right? Who is it not permissible for us to propose for marriage? It is not permissible for us to propose for a woman who is on a waiting period. If a woman is on a waiting period, any kind of waiting period, and we have few kinds of waiting period. Can you mention some of them? Could you raise your voice? After what? No. After she gave birth, this is what we call the postpartum bleeding. She just don't have to pray until that period is over. Here, we're talking about the waiting period, meaning the period that a woman has to wait before she can get married, right? So what are the causes of waiting period? Death, right? That's number one. If a husband passed away, she has a waiting period. What's another cause? Divorce. If a husband divorced her, she has a waiting period. What's another cause? Besides divorce, what else do we have? When a woman asks to leave her husband, what do you call that? When the woman is asking for a divorce. Khula. Right? Khula. So, khula has a waiting period, divorce has a waiting period, and death has a waiting period. The waiting period of death is how long? 4 months and 10 days. The waiting period for divorce is 3 months. The waiting period for khula is 1 month. So if a woman is in her waiting period, number one, for death, you should not come and propose to marry her directly. But can you do it indirectly? Yes, you can do it indirectly. Because here the Most High said, in Surah Al-Baqarah, that we should not propose to marry those women who are in their waiting period directly, but there is nothing wrong for us to come to them indirectly. What is the indirect way of proposing to a woman? For a woman for marriage?
Be kind.
Be kind?
Be nice.
What this one thing, you can give her gifts. That's one way. What's the other way? No, a word. Just like a word. What kind of word can you say?
What kind of word?
No, that woman. Ibn Uthaymeen mentioned few phrases here. Like the like of you will be a good wife. You understand? Did you say I want to marry you?
No.
No. Right? But you are putting something in her mind that if you have something like this, you will marry, right? Another example he gave, like, the life of you is a golden what? Opportunity, right? He did not say, I want to what? Marry you. So this is an indirect way of proposing to marry a woman. There is nothing wrong with that. I hope that is clear. So this is what our little study from the Imaam said. However, this is for the one whose husband passed away. How about the one who is in her waiting period? Yes. Can we propose for them directly or indirectly?
No, not yet.
Not directly during the time of her waiting period. Not directly.
Not directly, but can you propose for them indirectly?
By speech.
I know, but the situation differs here. All right. Here we are talking about a woman whose husband divorced her. Now we look, when you divorce a woman, there is talaqun ba'in, right? And there is talaqun raj'i. The talaqun raj'i is the divorce in which you can take your wife back, right? So if it's a divorce in which you can take your wife back, we have baynunatul kubra or baynunatul sugra. So while she's in her waiting period, if the waiting period is not over, you are not allowed to propose for to marry her directly or indirectly. Because Allah Almighty said, وَبُعُولَتُهُنَّ أَحَقُّ بِرَدِّهِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ إِنْ أَرَادَ إِصْلَاحًا. And their husbands, while in the waiting period, have more right than anyone else to what? To bring her back in the marriage. That is why the waiting period of someone whose divorce is the first or the second. That's why if a woman is in a waiting period before the period is over, if she dies, he inherits her. And she also what? Because they are still considered what? Married. They are still considered married until the waiting period is over. However, he cannot have intercourse with her. But he still has to provide for her shelter, food, and everything. And she still has to be a wife. Cook for him, wash his what? Clothes, listen and obey. But unfortunately, we don't get this in these days, right? You know, the women, even if you're on good terms with them, it's a problem. How about you divorce them these days, you know? You know, your food will not be cooked, you know, your clothes will not be washed to the end. So, but what I'm trying to make here is, as long as she's in a waiting period, she's still considered your wife until that is over. And then the third, which is the waiting period of al-makhlu'a, the one who asks for khul'a. If somebody asks for khul'a, meaning the woman asks to ransom herself from her husband, her waiting period is only 1 month because he cannot return her. He cannot what? Return her because she freed herself from him. And during that, can somebody propose for her directly? No. Indirectly? Yes. Because she has freed herself from him. I hope this is clear. Alright. Now let us look at how Ibn Taymiyyah arranged this all together. Alright, let me look here. So Ibn Taymiyyah mentioned here, he said, تحرم تصريحا وتعريضا خطبة الرجعية من بين زوجها لأنها زوجة ولا يجوز لأحد أن يخطب زوجة غيره لا تصريحا ولا تعريضا. He said it is impermissible for a man to propose to marry someone who's in her waiting period, meaning in the waiting period of divorce, in which she can be returned back to her husband, because she is still considered
Wife.
a wife. لا تزال إيه زوجة. You know, she's still considered a wife. However, if it's the waiting period of ويحرم التصريح دون التعريض في خطبة الإيه مبانة من غير الزوج والمعتدة من الوفاة. And again, it is impermissible to propose to marry someone who is in her waiting period. I mean, to propose directly to marry someone who is in her waiting period if her husband passed away, but you can propose to her indirectly. And likewise, someone who is in her waiting period for khula. I hope this is clear. So we have three options right here. Number one, it is impermissible directly or indirectly to propose to marry a woman who is in her waiting period, as long as the talaq is talaqun raj'in, the talaq in which you can return the woman. Number two, it is permissible to propose to marry a woman indirectly, but not directly if her husband passed away. And number three, it is also permissible to propose to marry a woman indirectly, not directly, if her divorce is what? By Nunatum Kubra, meaning the third divorce, in which the husband does not have the right to return her, or if she asks for khula, which is she asks to free herself. And we give example of how to propose to someone indirectly, like to say the like of you will be a good wife. You are not saying I'm going to marry you, but you are, revealing to her that if there is a chance of marriage, you can marry him.
Sure.
Now,
What about those people who ask for khula here in America? Because I have seen that people ask for khula, and little later they go get back together.
I mean, number one, the Prophet has warned against women who ask for khula. He said, those women who ask for khula are the hypocrites. Meaning, if they do it over and over. Because, there are some women that you will see, they deal with this man for a month, they ask for khula, they out. They get another man, boom, they out. That is not right. Just as men who marry and divorce, that is also not a good thing. But again, as far as them asking for khula and coming back again, is because of the opinion of the fuqaha who mentioned that khula is not considered a divorce. Khula is considered fasakh. And fasakh means nullification of the contract. So she ended the contract, but it's not a divorce. But divorce, you only have three options. But so divorce is in the hands of the man. So if a woman chooses to end the contract, she return back the dowry. If the husband doesn't want to leave her, she asks, and we've come across many situations like this. She asks to return the dowry, and her waiting period is 1 month. After a while, if she realized that she made a wrong decision, which usually happens because, I know a situation where a man came to me and said, listen, I divorced my wife. I said, what happened? He's like, granted her khula. I said, why? You should be patient. He said, no, she's asking me for khula 70 times a day. What can I do? When I go to the kitchen, she tells me, grant me khula. Immediately I come at the door, grant me khula. Like she just want to leave. So he granted it. And now she come back, she want to what? So that is why divorce is in the hands of men. But unfortunately, some men have become like women today. They don't think before divorcing. All of boom, you are divorced. And then afterwards, he realized that he made the wrong decision. That's why Allah the Almighty disciplined us by restricting divorce to 3. If you divorce the first time, okay, we make mistakes, right? The second time, we make mistakes. The third time, that does not have to be a mistake. That is why it has to be a discipline. You cannot marry her again until someone else has married her.
And that would be not a trick.
Huh?
It should be finding your friend, marry my wife or something, and divorce her. That's
Oh no. I mean, who in his right mind will do that, right? But some people do that. You know, they say, okay, I'll just give you something, just marry me and divorce. You can't play games with Allah, the Almighty. You can play your soul, but you cannot play games with Allah, the Almighty. At what time do we pray?
9.
Huh?
9.
It's time?
Yeah.
9:06 now.
I'm looking at 8:05. I'm like, all this time.
9:05.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, man. We have to change this. Yeah, inshallah. Subhanakallah. Alhamdulillah. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.
Cuidado.